Welcome to our first Roadshow of 2025. Welcome to our first show of 2025. This is On the Sidelines, coming to you on location from the Bridgewater Sports Complex, located on Route 18 here in Bridgewater, also known as the Dome. We'll get to the different shapes of this building coming up a little bit later on. I'm John Luck with Jonathan Rodriguez, and we have Brad McKinnon here as well. We're on the soccer field, or the soccer pitch, I think is what they call it. Yeah. So we'll have a little fun here a little bit later on in the show. But the New England Patriots started off 2025 doing the most Patriots 2024 thing, winning a football game, an hour and a half later blowing their coach out, and already having a backup plan ready when they blew that coach out. Of course, you know, Jerod Mayo has been fired as the head coach of the Patriots right after he defeated the Buffalo Bills second stringers. So let's start off with, just that first part. Was it the right call letting Jerod Mayo go? And we'll go with just the mindset that we didn't know they were going to get Mike Vrabel. But did Mayo getting fired, is that the right call for the Patriots at this point?
I would say yes. I thought throughout the whole season he was very not good with the media. His in-game adjustments were subpar to my liking as a Patriots fan. And you didn't really see any kind of growth from either the defense, which if you're a defensive-minded coach, you should be either seeing them playing to what they were playing last year, because it was essentially the same guys. If not, we had Gonzo there, who should have made the defense even better than last year. Yeah. And then the offense just at times looked good because of, in my opinion, Drake May just doing Superman kind of things. But then you would also just see the offense sputtering at times, and a lot of the interceptions or the fumbles or anything like that, I just felt like a lot of it, you could tell when he was trying to bench Stevenson or give Gibson the starting role. There was just so much confusing. Oh, he fumbles. He's been fumbling too much. We're going to start Gibson over him. And just a lot of mismanagement of what he would say to the media, and just mismanagement of the team itself, in my opinion. And I just didn't really see a scenario where he wasn't going to either be fired next season or he was not going to be fired the season after that. And for me, let's just rip off the Band-Aid now and let's get him out of the building, and let's develop this quarterback the right way with some grown men in the building, and not calling Jerod Mayo he's a grown man. But I think it takes a very strong personality to get what you want out of this team.
I mean, this is the second Band-Aid we've ripped off in Foxborough in 2 years. So, I mean, it just kind of feels like, eating an ice cream sandwich on a 150-degree day. Just a disaster and a mess for the Patriots at this point.
No, it is. And, I mean, there are other moves we could have done before we got rid of Mayo. I mean, rookie year, as Jonathan just said, the defense, he's a defensive-minded coach. You thought the defense would have been better, especially with a whole year with Gonzalez, but obviously it wasn't what we thought. I mean, he did have some pretty bad management calls throughout some of these games, and that's for sure. I mean, I would have liked to see Elliott Wolf go first, but Jerod Mayo, as you just said, we ripped the Band-Aid off early because I didn't see him lasting too much. If we had another season like this, I didn't see it happening. Yeah. I really didn't. And I mean, it was a good pick, in my opinion, who we got. There were two that I really wanted, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. I do feel bad for Jerod Mayo, though, a little bit, because, I mean, look at Dan Campbell. I believe his first year with the Lions, he was 3-14, and look what he did. He turned around the team, and like you just said, you need someone who's with a strong personality. Jerod Mayo doesn't really have that strong personality.
Yeah, it didn't seem like he had a strong personality, and then last season, picking his coordinators really kind of opened my eyes that he wasn't really prepared at all.
Oh yeah,
and
especially
you
with
hire
that
somebody.
Offensive coordinator.
Yeah, the offensive coordinator. I'm not saying he's I think AVP was good in Cleveland, especially for the year Cleveland had with the backup quarterbacks and still making the playoffs and getting the most out of Joe Flacco. But I just didn't see any of this being a long-term, this is who Drake May is going to go with for his whole rookie contract. I just did not see it playing out for those 5 years. I thought eventually he was going to be let go of.
So I did a little bit of reading here in the newspaper. Yes, actual Boston Herald, both sides here. And they had a two-part story with Andrew Callahan and Doug Kyed. And I definitely want to tell people who haven't read this article to do so, because it kind of lets people into why this year was so dysfunctional and why I feel like Jerod Mayo probably deserved another year. Just starting off with the team source they talked to saying, quote, "It felt like Mayo's personality for the first 6 months was not being Bill Belichick. Through OTAs, training camps, some players started to test where the line was going to be. They just kept moving over where they thought that line was, but he never came in and said, okay, that's enough. That was the line." Realistically, this feels like Robert Kraft is just kind of sputtering out of control here. Because you go back to the Amazon interview when they were in the Meadowlands, and he said that Jerod Mayo was already the head coaching selection for 5 years. He was going to follow Bill. We know Bill Belichick wasn't going to let Jerod Mayo kind of take the reins, kind of pick stuff up on the fly. And Jerod Mayo was just kind of left with the car spiraling out of control near a tree. We get to training camp, and you have the whole Matthew Judon situation. And at that point, I think that's when he lost the team. Because you have Matthew Judon showing that, you know what, I'm not dealing with Bill anymore. I'm not going to listen to this guy. He's a new guy. So if I'm not going to listen to him, you don't have to listen to him. And
domino effect for sure.
Yeah, and then there was a story in The Athletic that, just kind of loosely based, says that after the Patriots melted down against the Arizona Cardinals, Jerod Mayo, instead of watching film with the assistant coaches, he went to the back of the plane playing cards with the players. And we heard Robert Kraft say at the press conference when they asked him, when did you know that you were going to fire Jerod Mayo? He said it was about a month ago. And what game was about a month ago? Arizona Cardinals. So at that point, I think that's when the other shoe dropped. And obviously the Chargers debacle as well, with the crowd booing him. But now we're on to bigger and brighter things. Mike Vrabel, the new head coach, the 16th head coach of the New England Patriots. Was this the right call?
So, as I said earlier, there were two coaches I wanted, or two people to fill the position. Ben Johnson over there in Detroit, or Mike Vrabel. And I am glad it is Vrabel. He knows the Patriot way. He was there during the first dynasty. He even caught a touchdown in the Super Bowl versus the Panthers, And it is good that we're going to see him over there. I do think he can get the team in line a little bit. What was it, 2021 or 2022? He won the Coach of the Year award with the Titans.
21. Yep.
And he definitely brought that team a little bit back to life, and then he kind of sold it all in a free giveaway. But we don't need to get into that because I don't think he'll do that over here. But we'll see what happens. But I do like him. Every player is going to have to look up to a coach. That's always a good thing. They're not looking down because Mike Vrabel is about 7 feet tall.
This is true.
He does. I think he will get that offensive line in shape and probably get new players for that offensive line, obviously. But we have the most money, I believe, in the NFL to spend. So we'll see what happens during this first season.
Yeah, for me, I was 1A, 1B, Ben Johnson, obviously, and Mike Vrabel. I think the Crafts knew who they wanted to hire. I think it was in my opinion, I thought the whole, hiring schedule was kind of a little bit of a debacle, the way they handled it with the 2 interviews they had in the beginning of the week. But I also think Vrabel handled it in a way of putting them on the hot seat with that Jets interview prior to him coming up for our interview. But again, I thought the 2 interviews in the beginning of the week were a little bit of a sham. I did personally, I've seen throughout the NFL, teams pairing a young QB with a young head coach, and I've seen that formula work so many times now that I was kind of like, Ben Johnson, Drake May, kind of seems like a match made in heaven. And I was like, oh, God, I really want to see that. I'm not mad at the Vrabel pick. The OC is going to be interesting. I think there's it could go anywhere from Josh McCown to McDaniels. If we do get McDaniels, I do think he'll be there for a while because his 2 head coaching stints have panned out the way they panned out. So I think it'll be nobody will want to poach him for us. But if we hire someone else, it does make me fear of like, okay, is that gonna be taken away from Drake May, and then he's gonna have to start something different with somebody else, and that's a little bit of a scary situation for especially a young QB. So McDaniels would be probably my pick just for the consistency aspect of it. But besides that, I'm not mad at the Mike Vrabel pick. I think it's a good pick. But Ben Johnson and Drake May kind of sound sexy.
It did.
So I'll say this. I'm kind of in the same boat as you. I'm not mad at the Mike Vrabel pick. I think you needed an adult in the room after all these articles that came out and people thinking Mayo was going to be gone in October. The fact that Robert Kraft kind of did what he did with, Byron Leftwich and Pep Hamilton, that was embarrassing. And that goes back to a whole different thing with the Rooney Rule. And we can get to that another day. But you had to make this move here. The only thing that concerns me is what you brought up, the offensive coordinator. You go back to his days in Tennessee where he won that Coach of the Year. 2018, he was 9-7. His offensive coordinator was Matt LaFleur. 2019, 9-7. Offensive coordinator, Arthur Smith. 2020, Arthur Smith was the offensive coordinator for an 11-5 Titan squad. 2021, 12-5. The offensive coordinator was Todd Downing, and he came back the following season for a 7-10 season. Then Tim Kelly took over the reins of the offense to a 6-11 season, and Derrick Henry was with the Titans all the way through 2023. So the one thing I'm worried about is, will this offense get any better in terms of the points per game? Because they went, I believe, 2 years almost so far without scoring 30 points in a game.
So didn't the Chiefs this year. Don't forget it.
Yeah, but they actually have a coach that's not going to play cards in the back of the plane. When we come back here, a Sports Complex employee came back to where it began and continues to make this site an area that means more than just winning and losing.
What to expect when you're expecting a teenager.
Today we're talking about how to wake up your teen, and this works literally every time.
Good kisses. Good kisses. You heard how loud
I heard. It wasn't you. Yeah. It was the...
Is that bacon?
You don't have to know it all to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
Hey, Hard, what's this?
That's my resignation letter.
You're resigning.
Why? Because you're constantly ignoring me. You're half as active as you used to be, and you eat stuff like this. You've been putting me under a lot of pressure lately. That's why I'm ready to quit.
I forgot. I'll do better. Please, don't quit on me.
Okay, but remember, it's not what you say, it's what you do.
Listen to your heart. Don't let it quit on you.
Let's go for a walk.
Uncontrolled high blood pressure could lead to a stroke, heart attack, or death. Get yours to a healthy range before it's too late.
We roll on here at the Bridgewater Sports Complex. Great to talk to Greg Vizzino, the operations manager here at the complex. Thanks for opening it up for us and letting everyone kind of see what's going on in this big brick building. Beautiful building, by the way.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about the charity aspect here. We have, 1, 2, 3 turf fields, a basketball court as well. And during the winter, there's a number of different charities that can come in here, and it's a good chance for kids to play sports, but also raise money for great causes as well.
Yeah, so the Oliari family has always been big about helping the community and helping people out. So when I came back in 2009 to work here, part of my job was to really kind of make sure that every single year we're helping someone out, whether that's an organization or an individual family. And our biggest event that we run is a 3v3 event where the Oliari family essentially donates everything, the facility, the snack bar, the staff, everything, and we can come in and run an event where all the proceeds go to whatever organization or whatever family that we are trying to help out. So last year we did it for an individual family. We worked with Wish Come True, which is a local wish granting organization out of Rhode Island. And for me, it's wonderful because it's kind of what I love to do, is help people out. And it's easy for us to kind of schedule everything and get everything going, and just to see thousands of people in here, whether it's wearing t-shirts, donating, doing raffles, on the field playing, making their own shirts, all those sorts of things to help out someone who maybe has a life-threatening illness or needs some financial help to get them through whatever disease that they're dealing with. It's something that's near and dear to my heart, near and dear to the ownership's heart, and we're just really happy that we can do it every single year, and we'll be doing it again this year on Martin Luther King Day.
So I know that the basketball court just got touched up. The snack bar has been touched up as well not too long ago. In the next 30 years here, since you guys are celebrating 30 years of the Bridgewater Sports Complex, the Bridgewater Dome, is there anything that you foresee maybe people looking forward to maybe getting a facelift?
Yeah, so for us, our bread and butter is always going to be youth sports, right? But that really happens from November to April, right? And our goal, celebrating our 30th anniversary and moving forward, is to try to evolve and see if we can do other things that impact the community. Because right now, from a sporting standpoint, we do a lot for the South Shore community, but we're trying to expand that into an area where maybe we can help out local businesses, or maybe we can help out and do different things. And we're trying to start that this year by doing like different fairs, and like with the rebranding of the dome and the snack bar, having our function room being used for things like painting classes or yoga classes. So our hope is that over the next 30 years we can continue to be a staple in terms of youth sports in the area, but also evolve into something where we start helping communities outside of sports. Because we have this massive building, and in that spring and summer, it's not being used as thoroughly as it is in the winter. Mm-hmm. So if we can impact the community in ways outside of sports, I think that's kind of the evolution of what we want it to be.
So you said a couple minutes ago, there's thousands of kids that will come in here for a charity tournament along with parents. When they first come in here, is there something about this place that just surprises them, be it the size of the place, be it what they can actually do in here, some of the different functions of the place? Is there like one or two things maybe that strikes you that a lot of people notice as surprising when they walk through the doors of the sports complex?
Yeah, I think that the two biggest things that people say when they come in here is they feel like it's a safe space for their children. Because we have so much staff and we're always visible, I think people feel safe when they come in here. And obviously the cleanliness of the place. We try to keep the place clean. And that's not easy to do all the time when you're dealing with little kids, but we really work at it. So for us, that safety and cleanliness, and it's a very inviting place. You know, you go into other facilities and maybe you don't see as much staff. And the O'Leary family has said when we want people to come in here and we want it to feel inviting. Right? So people are always greeting you. There's always our staff around here to help people through things. And I think that's unique to what we can provide. And, you know, also the kids, they love the boards, right? I think it's very unique to us. Kids love the boards because it's almost like playing soccer on a hockey rink, right? Ball never goes out of play, and kids love that. Whereas when you play outdoors, you know, the ball might be out of play 40% of the time. Mm-hmm. In here, the ball's out of play maybe 10% of the time. And I think kids absolutely love that. So we can bring something that's very unique and different, and I think that that's kind of cool, and that's part of the reason why I love the Dome. I mean, I played here as a kid, and I worked here when I was in college, and now I'm back working here full time. So I think it's a place where people want to come, and then they just become regulars, and they just want their children and grandchildren. Like what Greg said earlier, we have people coming in like it's their third generation, right? The dad played, and then the grandfather played, now the child's playing, right? So it's a really cool, unique experience here.
Almost feels like a little extra pride for you, knowing that you had sports here as a kid, you came back, and now obviously you're working here. It almost feels like maybe there's an added sense of pride when you come into this place.
100%. I mean, this is not my facility, but I think all of us that work here kind of take pride that we have a part to play in all of it, and we take a little bit of that ownership that we want the place to be professional. You know, we want the leagues to run well, we want it to feel safe and clean, and we want to see the smiles on all those kids' faces. So the fact that we do so many games as opposed to like just renting it out, I think really helps too, because we get to see the whole family, whether it's mom, dad, grandpa, aunt and uncle. It's just a really cool thing to see those people every week.
Well, once again, thank you so much for opening up the building to us and letting us do our show here, and continued success for another 30 years here inside the Bridgewater Dome.
That's the plan. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We'll be right back.
Thanks, man.
Thanks.
I'm Jim Clockey, the head of the Massachusetts Nonprofit Network. At MNN, we work to help nonprofits grow. That's why we're helping spread the word about the Massachusetts Core Plan, a state retirement savings program for people who work at nonprofits with up to 20 employees. The Core Plan is a great way to help your employees save for the future and build their nonprofit careers. You can learn more about the Core Plan by visiting the website listed at the bottom of the screen, or by calling 617-510-4036.
Adventure can be found anywhere, but the best place to start is in the forest.
I spy something beginning with S.
Snow?
No.
Snow-covered trees?
Nothing to do with snow.
Head outside to discover incredible animals and beautiful plants that come together to create an unforgettable adventure.
Wow.
So grab your loved ones.
Don't even.
And explore a world of possibilities.
Come on, this way.
Visit discovertheforest.org to find the closest forest or park to you.
Back here at the Sports Complex on Route 18 here in Bridgewater. We have a nice setting here, a lot of athletic fields, basketball court. We have Miss Pac-Man that we can hear in the background. I was good at Miss Pac-Man. You?
I was pretty good at Miss Pac-Man as well. So
I mean, when I went to the dentist, that's what I did the whole time I was in the waiting room, you know.
I have a little Miss Pac-Man.
I didn't care how long it took for my dentist to call me in when that machine was in front of me.
When you said weight room for a second, I thought they had like a gym in there. So let's talk about Wild Card Weekend. It was subpar, I think maybe is the best way to put it. When you look at the seeds and the AFC and NFC, there was only one upset. When you look at the seeds, meaning like a 5 beating a 4, as Washington did with Tampa Bay, and one game that was a 1-score game. Let's kind of start with a 1,000-foot view here. Are there too many teams in the NFL postseason? Because I think the same thing could be said for college football as well.
Yeah, I mean, I personally do think when they added the extra seed that it was kind of too much, to be honest with you. Now, I mean, it wasn't that entertaining this week, to be honest with you, as you just brought up. I mean, you wish to see a lot more competitive games, but it kind of wasn't. And that's what's going to happen when you let in an extra seed on each side, in my opinion, you know.
Yeah, for me, I'm not mad at the extra seed. For me, it's very much so I think they need to fix the way the seeds are done. I think it should be solely, I think all 4 division winners get in, but then it goes by record though. I think like Minnesota should have never been a 5 seed in my opinion. I think they should have been like wherever it fell. I think it was like either 3 or 4. I think they should have fell in that range of things. But the way they do the seeding is very weird to me. I don't like it. I think if you have a good have a good regular season, I don't think you should be penalized by having to go on the road the entire time. Like if you went 14-2, like Minnesota Vikings did, I think you need to have a home game. You worked your butts off all regular season to end up the 5th seed, and then you don't get to host a playoff game at all.
But that gives you more viewership for your Week 18 game when it's Detroit and Minnesota, because if you have both teams hosting a playoff game in the first round or even in the divisional round as well, then that Week 18 Sunday night game ends up being meaningless, and you have Joe Schmo starting for the Minnesota Vikings.
But I do think it would kind of rectify. I think them let's say they were the 3 seed, and then who was the 6 seed? The Packers.
Washington.
I just
There's
feel
too many
like
teams. I don't even know who's the
I think it would have been a more entertaining game. And then I think as a society, I think we all like to see that Cinderella story, like seeing Notre Dame and Ohio State, 2 teams that shouldn't have been there. Everyone thinking, oh, Texas is going to be there. Oh, Oregon's going to be there. Something to the effect of that. I think it gives people like, oh, well, I want to root for the underdog. So I think the NFL is trying to go for something like that. I think reorganizing the seeds would help and making some of these games a little bit more competitive. But I think this is just the nature of the beast. Typically, like what happened is going to happen. You know what I mean? So,
yeah, I mean, there's really no perfect way. It's kind of like the Rooney Rule. The only thing I can think of is if you go ahead and have 2 wild card teams from the NFL do battle in one weekend, the winner of that gets to face, the 4th division team. They play one game, and the winner of that will take on the 1 seed. 2, 3 take each other on.
Almost like 1 through 8.
Yeah, kind of. And then for college football, I think instead of having 12 teams and having Clemson and SMU get smoked in the first round or a second round, maybe what you do is you have your 8 and 9 seeds do battle. The winner of that game advances to the playoff, and you play the 1 seed.
Yeah.
This is all a TV game. Like we know with Wild Card Weekend, it was Saturday and Sunday. You had a game on NBC. You had a game on Fox, or whatever. You had 2 games. You had 2 games on Saturday. You had 3 games on Sunday, and then you had the game on Monday. Yep. It is all about money, and that's a sad thing, because now it feels like the NFL is just continuing to kind of dilute its product and its end goal for getting a couple extra viewers. And I mean, it was great to see what they did for Los Angeles with the Rams, giving them the home field feel in Arizona, and that was good to see. But, you know, just in terms of overall product, Wild Card Weekend was a dud. Just quickly here in about 30 seconds, best team of Wild Card Weekend was?
I would definitely say I had it Buffalo. I thought that game was going to be much closer than what it was, especially with the Broncos defense. So I had Buffalo. I had Buffalo heading to the Super Bowl in the way I broke down my personal bracket. So
honestly, I'm going to say the Rams.
Really?
They embarrassed Sam Darnold a little bit. I know the week or two before that, he looked like he played for the Jets too. I forget who they played for, but I expected that game to be a shootout. I did expect that to be the best game of the weekend, was the Rams versus the Vikings. I thought it was just going to be an offensive brawl, and obviously 27-9, right?
27-9 and
Nothing.
9 sacks.
Yeah. Oh, dude,
ridiculous.
They destroyed him. Destroyed Sam Darnold.
And their D-line is so young.
So what happens next year with the Vikings?
Right.
You know, after that.
I will say this. I think Buffalo is probably the best team to come out of Wild Card Weekend. Like you said, they didn't play their crispest football. They were actually down 7-0. But, I mean, just watching that offense and defense go to work.
Beautiful.
And
it's
they
beautiful.
beat Kansas City.
They better.
That's going to be interesting. We'll talk about that coming up on the sidelines overtime. And we're actually going to talk about the Boston Bruins and their thin-skinned captain more after this.
Thin-skinned.
They'll test you. Try to break your will. But however loud the loudness gets, however many cheese puffs may fly, you're the driver, the one in control. Stand firm. Just wait. And move only when you hear the click that says they're buckled in for the drive. Never give up till they buckle up.
They said a bottle was just a bottle. That no one would ever notice me. But I knew I could be more. That one day, I would make people smile.
Welcome back to the Dome, also known as the Sports Complex. John Luck, Jonathan Rodriguez, Brad McKinnon. The trash talk has begun. Celtics, Bruins. Who's a better soccer player? Maybe we'll find out.
I got my work boots on. I'll dance around you, all right?
That would be very scary. Anyways, let's talk about athletes and maybe the fact in 2025 they maybe have thinner skin than back in the early 2000s or the 90s. Brad Marchand has in a little bit of a verbal sparring with Rich Keefe from WEEI, and his show with Adam Jones Akeem. He said this, Rich Keefe, the locker room is a disaster, and David Pastrnak is at the center of that. David Pastrnak has told the team he doesn't want to be on a line with Brad Marchand, and it may stem from Brad Marchand calling out Pastrnak for some of his play. Brad Marchand clapped back the next day saying, I know reporters have a job to do, and that job is to report on the team. Usually try to be fact-based, but when there's just blatant lies told in the media, that's where there's a problem. The fact this guy has a platform and is just making this up is embarrassing. There's zero truth to anything he said. This is how you lose a job very quickly. And he goes on to continue throwing his adult temper tantrum. This was after Jelani Tavai was on another WEEI show, the Greg Hill Morning Show, and this is the quote that really made the rounds, and I'll just kind of, minimize it a little bit here. He was asked about whether he understands fan-based frustration. Tavai saying, there's a reason why they're fans. Everybody can say what they think we should be doing. In the long end, they're not qualified to do what Mayo is doing or whatever the Pats are doing. The fans, I appreciate them at times, but sometimes they just have to know their place and just understand that it's a work in progress. Jason Tatum also has issues with Brandon Jennings. Jennings calling him the softest superstar in Celtics history because he didn't win Finals MVP. Jason Tatum gave a long answer for that one. But are athletes nowadays maybe becoming a little more thin-skinned in some of the public outcry or public, talk that's coming at them?
I mean, a lot of them definitely are. I'm not going to argue you there. I know you brought up Brad Marchand and you want me to go toe-to-toe with you right now, but
hey, we got hockey boys here.
I will say on the Brad Marchand thing, why would you want both of them on the same line if you don't have that much depth on the team? You're not going to have a perfection line. You're really not. Even if you put Elias Lindholm in the middle with him waking up, you're not going to have no perfection line. So I get where he's coming from. I don't see everything the reporter said being true there. And when it comes to the Patriots guy, I mean, he's not wrong with the fans. Where we can't go out there, we can't go do Jerod Mayo's thing. Yeah, I get he is kind of a little sour how he says it, but he really isn't wrong at the same time,
Yeah, for me, it's very much, if I'm an athlete, I want to use this material as like whiteboard material. Like, oh, this guy said this about me, because I think the perfect way to make somebody kind of eat their words is to show them, okay, you guys want to say I'm a soft superstar, let me go out and win MVP. Right. And then what are you going to have to say about me now? Because now you're going to have to eat your words and everything you said. I think reporters have a job, and it's bad publicity, good publicity. It's publicity nonetheless. And it brings your name out there. If somebody didn't know Jason Tatum before, maybe they know him now, just because of all this smack talk that was talked. Another aspect that I like to think about is some of these players like to say, oh, like, where did you get your information from? As a reporter, you're not going to, like...
Out your source.
Yeah, out your source. So players asking, oh, yeah, I want to know where you heard that from. That reporter's not going to tell you, no matter what. Like, you wouldn't do that as a reporter. So I think a lot of this stuff, these players just need to use as whiteboard material and just put it up there and be like, okay, let me go win MVP. Let me go lead the league in scoring. Let me go do this. Let me go do that. And shut these reporters up, because then all they can say is, oh, wow, I had Jason Tatum as the 15th ranked NBA superstar in the league, and now at the end of the season, he won MVP, and he's the best player, and I have nothing bad to say about him now.
Well, adversity is definitely good for fuel. It is.
So I think there's a difference here. We may go over by a minute or so, but when it comes to Brandon Jennings, he's a former NBA player. He sucked as a player, but he's a former NBA player, so he has a little... cachet to be able to go out there and say what he said about Jason Tatum. Is it wrong? Yes. Is it ridiculous? Yes. But...
does he have a ring? No.
Right. When it comes to Jelani Tavai, I'm not going to go with the route of you get paid, but if you're getting butthurt because you're getting booed off the field because you lay an absolute dud against the Los Angeles Chargers, that comes 2 weeks after you laid a dud against the Arizona Cardinals, that followed a bye week, yeah, I would boo you as well. He keeps bringing up the Detroit Lions, which I think he played for the Lions a long time ago, when, shocker here, that was back when the Lions sucked. So apparently, Jelani Tavai just leads to suck everywhere he goes. Anyways, let's go back to Brad Marchand.
Go easy.
The issue with Brad Marchand that I have, what has he done for this team as the captain?
I mean, it's his first year.
It's his first year, I understand. But when Chara was there, when Bergeron was there, he was kind of that adult presence in the room. And I'm not exactly the world's biggest hockey viewer here.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm big in other ways here if you look at the screen. But I'm not the biggest hockey viewer. But just from the glancing views I have of Brad Marchand, he's not there sticking up for his teammates in fights. He's, it just feels like he's not that adult presence in the room that Patrice Bergeron and Zdeno Chara were.
I mean, did Bergeron ever stand up for anyone in a fight? You never saw him drop the gloves. You see Marchand drop them more than he did. I mean,
Bergeron also played with punctured lungs, I believe.
Yeah, in 2013 after Philly. I mean, Pittsburgh, yep, you were right, in the playoffs. Yeah.
All right, we should probably go to break because I see Jeff doing a dance over here. We'll take a quick break here. Now, the building we're in, this actually used to be a big puppy dome. If you look from Route 18, it looked like a big marshmallow, but Mother Nature had other plans. Coming up, I'll talk with a member of the staff here about the history of this site and the issues weather played in the first few years of its existence.
On the line, overdrive, overtime, on the job like...
I guess sometimes things just happen. devastating things. It's got nothing to do with fairness. Bam, your whole world changes in an instant. And you never see it coming. That's what happened to me the day my mother had a stroke. I'm Paul George, and I want you to learn the signs of a stroke fast. F-A-S-T. F, face drooping. A, arm weakness. S, speech difficulty. T, time to call 911. Because the sooner they get to the hospital, the sooner they'll get treatment. And that can make a remarkable difference in their recovery. Protect the ones you love. Spot a stroke. F-A-S-T. Fast.
Back here on the show, I want to welcome in Greg Allen, who is the general manager of the Bridgewater Sports Complex here, also known as the Dome to many local people here. And it's interesting because it's called the Dome, but we're inside of a square building. For those who aren't familiar with kind of the story of the Dome, can you let us in to the history of it and how we made this transition from Dome to where we are now?
Well, the Oliari family built it back in 1994, and it was actually an air structure, which when you look at it is actually dome, and the floor of it said the Dome, and everyone got used to it as the Dome. It was one of the first in the area, and it was a quick build, and it was really interesting in the storms. You know, you could actually, the ceiling was about 65 feet high at that point. And when the wind got blowing and you're standing on the mezzanine, you could see it swaying. And so people were, whoa. And the noise when the snow would start sliding down it, it thundered in here at times. It was fantastic in terms of, you could see it lit up out at Route 18. You could see the Dome lit up, even with all the trees in the way. So you knew you were going by the Dome. And it had one of the, it had revolving doors because this place was actually held up by air. So If you had the doors open at the same time, the Dome would eventually go down. And so it was a lively place, more sound, everything bounced around. And that's when we really realized how much the community was starting to enjoy it already. When we had storms at the base of the Dome itself, all the snow would build up on it and would be pushing in on the sides, and the Dome could actually collapse. Mm-hmm. So we'd literally, on a big snowstorm, have to shovel around the entire Dome the whole storm time to stop that from building up to the point where it'd push it down. And quite often, teams would come and help out. The local colleges would come and help out, the high school would come and help out, and most of the kids that played here, if they had time, depending on when the storm was, it was daytime, they'd do that. But, it was just, it sort of made it a nice, tight atmosphere in here too. It was a completely different building, so people came in and the kids were excited. Mm-hmm. They could see up and the lights were reflecting off the ceiling. And, most kids couldn't even kick the ball high enough to hit the ceiling. So it just seemed like a huge structure from the inside.
Almost looked like Bridgewater's old Hubert H. Humphrey Metrodome, I think, if I got that right, in Minnesota, where the Twins played.
Yes.
I remember when I first moved into Bridgewater, we were going by Route 18, I said, is Bridgewater trying to be the Metrodome here? It looks just like it. It was really impressive to see. And to hear about the community support, that's awesome. So we keep talking about when the Dome went down. We should say that when the Dome did come down, there was nobody in the building, right?
Correct. And even, every now and then somebody would try to slice it up for fun to see if it would pop, the Dome itself. Even when it was going down, we had hours of notice, and inside here we had, see the red steel beams we've got? There were huge T's in here that were, 10 feet up and across with steel beams, so in case it was coming down fast and people thought they'd still have plenty of room to exit, with all these exit doors open at one time, it would go fast. But it was always a safe structure, but it was really exciting, and it was, it had its pluses and minuses. Obviously, having not exactly a permanent outside, we were always concerned when storms came around. Would we have to close the facility? Not only would we have to close, but would the dome survive? Because, the whole idea was brand new. I mean, nobody else had these really yet.
Mhm.
So who knows what it could take structurally.
And you mentioned the community support. You've been here for a long time now, and when you have the community coming in, and it's a sports-centric town here in Bridgewater and Rainham as well, but to see the kids kind of start their athletic journey here inside this facility, I'd imagine that's awesome to see as someone who's kind of seen this site from the beginning.
Oh, for sure. It's just the growth of the sports and watching the kids. I mean, like, to jump to this day right now, we have people that are coaching teams here that played here when they were kids. Several grandparents are back and watching their kids coach another team. It's come full cycle in terms of, we have people that, have worked for us here that have gone off and coached college, and they bring that back. But that's one of the best feelings, is to see, kids came in. As a matter of fact, just a couple of days ago, one of the ex-presidents of East Bridgewater Youth Soccer, his daughter came in, and she had her 3 little kids with her, and they were doing the instructional program that we run. And I recognized her right off the bat as a little kid that was playing here, and here she is, a mom with 3 kids, and the first place she wanted to bring them when they could do it is here. So it just kind of brings it full cycle.
And for anybody watching the show that maybe is just finding out about the Bridgewater Sports Complex for the first time, is there anything you say to them, especially if they have kids that are interested in starting their athletic journey in, be it soccer, basketball, or any of the other sports?
We try to get just about every sport that can play here. We give them at least a start. And, we know who runs things certain times, like we're not professionals at certain things, but we'll set it up and give them the opportunities. But what we do have, is several different surfaces. We got turf surface. We've got a basketball court that you can play basketball, volleyball, pickleball, futsal, dodgeball. I mean, it's that can be set up for when we do birthday parties. But there's chances for kids in here to learn. And one of the nice things we like about some of the sports is the fields that have boards on them. The ball, like for instance in soccer, stays in play. So they're constantly playing and they get more touches on the ball. But any sport, you at least have the chance. It doesn't matter what the weather is outside, to come in and just for an hour or so they can work with somebody. And some of the sports, we don't necessarily have leagues on, but they can play, and then they can rent it and compete as high as level as you want. And some of the coaches rent out the fields to do their own run sessions and teach them different sports.
Well, I will say we're recording this on a day when it's 40 degrees outside, definitely not 40 degrees inside. Beautiful place here at the Bridgewater Sports Complex. Thanks so much for opening it up to us and telling us a little bit about the great things you've done here in town.
All right, thanks very much, appreciate it.
We have much more coming up right after this. Thank you.
Here's your check. Oh, you got it. Since I got rid of my car, I really enjoy walking.
Okay. Got it.
Getting pulled over for buzz driving could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates.
Oh, you're home early.
You live with your mom?
That'll set your game back a few years. Buzzed, busted, and broke. Because buzz driving is drunk driving.
76% of employees have struggled with at least one issue that affected their mental health. When you share, you're not alone.
We talked about how much of a wild card weekend was. I think it's safe to say we can all agree on this one. Divisional round weekend, that's going to be nuts.
Yeah.
Just the level of talent that we have coming up.
Oh, yeah.
Let's make some picks here. Houston at Kansas City opening things up, and I was surprised at this spread with what I typically use. 8.5-point favorites, the Kansas City Chiefs.
I think Houston will cover. I don't know. I think it's going to be more decided on Houston's defense much rather than their offense, in my opinion. And then I think Kansas City is just going to do what they've been doing all year long, which is like barely winning games, but like Patrick Mahomes just throwing that one extra pass that he needs to get that field goal at the end. But I do think it's going to be a very close game, and it's mostly going to be contingent on Houston's defense.
Well, first drive of the game for the Chiefs, Pat Mahomes is going to pretend to twist his ankle and win with 5 seconds left in that game somehow. Texans probably will cover. I do think they will cover, but the Chiefs, I mean, it's almost like the Patriots back in the day. It's almost a guaranteed AFC championship game.
Yeah.
Not a win, but making it to the championship weekend, you know.
To me, 8.5 is a really big number. I will say something to think about, too. C.J. Stroud, you remember when Tank Dell went down with that gruesome knee injury, and Stroud was visibly emotional. It took place at Arrowhead Stadium. I wonder if that's going to be in the back of his mind. But Kansas City, they continue to win. They find ways to win. It's not a sexy way to win, but I still think they're going to win. 8.5 seems a little high, though, so I don't know if I'd go that high, but I think KC wins. And the numbers only get higher, with Detroit being a 9.5-point favorite against the Washington Commanders in the Motor City.
Honestly, I think that's gonna be the closest game of the week, because I mean Daniels has just been playing immaculate. Me and you both wanted him over Drake, but obviously we didn't have that choice. You know, everyone knew he was gonna go before Drake, and you get what I'm saying, before third pick. I do see Detroit winning that game though for sure. I want to say it's gonna be the Detroit in the Super Bowl from the West.
I hope so.
Yeah, I have Detroit in the Super Bowl too, so I would have to pick Detroit here. I do think this game comes down to whoever has the ball last. I think, in my opinion, it's a touchdown game. I think it's this game is won by 7 points, and both teams have really good defenses, and both teams have really good offenses as well. I just think Detroit has just way too many pieces to even like scoff at, and I think it's a 35-42 game. So,
all right. Well, I think Detroit would be cool to see in the Super Bowl. I think they're a great story. I'm not sure I'm feeling this one though. I think the Commanders could shock the world here. Now, I did say, I think it was back in October, the Jets would beat the Patriots by 28 and the Patriots beat the Jets. But there's something about Washington that makes me think they can play in any type of game. Meanwhile, Detroit, you have the injury issues with Montgomery. We don't know if he's going to be playing, and if he is, at what percentage. Don't forget the defensive side of the ball. They are just, ratcheted with injuries. Hutchinson went down with that ugly injury a long time ago. So I think 9.5 is too big. I'm going to call the upset here and say the Commanders come away with the win, and just continuing to grow the rookie legend of Jaden Daniels. We go to Sunday now. The LA Rams taking on the Philadelphia Eagles in the city of brotherly love. And some of us may have made a little side hustle there, saying that the Eagles would be the Super Bowl champions. And for that to work, they need to win. And I think the Eagles will win coming up on Sunday afternoon at home.
This is the upset I hope happens. I hope the Rams beat the Eagles. I do. And it sounds like you might have a little parlays or something.
Is it just story reason, or do you think that's just football X and O's wise?
I think the Rams are going to have some confidence after what they did to Minnesota in their offense. And that defense should stand pretty strong versus the Eagles. I do. That's what I want to see happen.
9 sacks against Sam Darnold.
That's what I'm saying. If they can get to Jalen Hurts and make him hurt again. Hurts to throw, hurts to play, right? I definitely like to see the Rams beat the Eagles, though. And it's not even because Super Bowl 52. It's just I'm not an Eagles fan. I never was. And I don't like Jalen Hurts. I don't.
And Nakobe Dean's out for the Eagles defense.
I'm not really a Matt Stafford guy either. He got his one ring, but I do want to see him beat Jalen Hurts on Sunday.
Yeah, so for me, this is if I had to pick an upset of any of the games, I think this is the game that an upset could happen. I think when it comes down to it, the Rams offense and defense can play lights out. I have the Rams offense kind of toe-to-toe with any of the top offenses in the league, and then their defensive line is just crazy good for it to be. I think there's 2 rookies on that line, which is crazy to me that they're 9 sacks against the Vikings. That's just crazy. So if I was to pick an upset this weekend, I think it is going to be the LA Rams beating the Philadelphia Eagles. I think at times Jalen Hurts can look like he doesn't know how to throw the ball or just isn't having a good throwing game. So that would have a lot more on the back of Saquon Barkley. So I'm not going to pick the upset, but if I was to pick an upset, that's the upset I am going to pick. So we'll go Philly, though, for me, personally.
I'm not going to pick the upset, but if I was going to pick that upset, let me tell you a story now. And then, I mean, honestly, the game of the weekend here, Baltimore at Buffalo in about a couple of minutes here. Who you got?
Yeah, so I think whoever wins this game, I have Buffalo, but I think whoever wins this game is the representative of the AFC.
Yeah. Wow.
I just think either team has just way too much firepower within just the quarterback. I think both quarterbacks could be MVPs, and I lean more Josh Allen just because of what he did with that team. But I have Buffalo. Very close spread. It's a pick 'em. I'm going to go with them winning by a touchdown, though. Buffalo.
So as you just said, this is who I want to see represent the East too in the Super Bowl for sure. Both quarterbacks deserve it. Yeah, Pat Mahomes is good, but he's been there. He has. Lamar and Josh have both made it to the AFC Championship, one game away a few times. I mean, it's weird as a Patriots fan to say Josh Allen deserves a Super Bowl ring. He does. He 100% does. And I do think that they will outplay the Ravens this weekend. I do.
If the Buffalo Bills make the Super Bowl, what's the over-under on how many tables get broken in the city of Buffalo?
A lot.
Bills
But
Mafia.
They deserve it. Bills Mafia deserves it. I mean, the Jim Kelly days, imagine going to 4 Super Bowls in a row.
Yeah,
losing all
that's
4.
heartbreaking.
Oh, yeah.
Heartbreaking.
I got Baltimore for this reason. The fact that Lamar Jackson is looking for that postseason game, that postseason moment. And if he wants any shot at being a Mahomes-esque quarterback in terms of notoriety and being up there in the talks of being a top 3 quarterback, he needs to win this game. And Derrick Henry as well. He's looking to get that Super Bowl ring. So there's a lot on the line for Baltimore. And I think they're going to come in for the upset here and take out Buffalo.
It's a pick 'em, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a 1-point game.
Yeah,
so
1 point,
numbers.
I get it.
All right, so I put down game time here, and I'm just going to move my chair back a little bit, if I could. There we go. Don't want to fall over, because I don't want you looking at the questions here for our big game here. We are at the Dome.
I thought you said that
so
you were getting questioned too, this one.
I figured we'd play a little game called Dome Sweet Dome. I got some questions here about some notable domes in the world of sports. So, Jonathan, we'll start off with you.
Okay.
From 1989 through 2016, the CFL's Argonauts played in a dome located in what major Canadian city? A, Montreal, B, Calgary, C, Toronto, or D, Winnipeg? Bruins suck against all of them, too, but...
I have it down to B or D, so I'm gonna go B.
I'm looking at our stage producer over here, Jeff, and he's approving. Actually, C, Toronto. They played in the Sky Dome or the Rogers. All right, next up, Brad. Pope John Paul II and WrestleMania 3 had the largest crowds in Pontiac Silverdome history, each getting 93,000 plus people inside the Detroit Dome. Both took place in 1987. At WrestleMania 3, I can already feel the blood pressure rising for our Jeff over here. Who did Hulk Hogan beat in the main event for the WWF Championship? A, Andre the Giant, B, The Rock, C, Macho Man Randy Savage, or D, Big John Studd?
I think it's A or C, and I'm going to go with A.
Be proud of him, Jeff. There you go. Andre the Giant, the slam heard
I'm a real American.
PR-wise, may not want to go there. All right, Jonathan, next up. What dome was the world's first air-conditioned indoor stadium built? A, the Sky Dome, B, Olympic Stadium, C, the King Dome, or D, the Astrodome?
Jeez, I'm gonna get smoked. I'm gonna go...
Shut up over there, Jeff.
The Sky Dome?
Oh, completely opposite end of North America. It's actually the Astrodome down in Houston, opened in 1965, currently used as a storage facility for NRG Stadium. Next up. Okay, anyways. Brad, how many NFL teams currently play at a home site with Dome in its name? Some examples being in Minnesota, the Metrodome, or Houston, the Astrodome. I should give you the choices here. A1, B2, C4, or D5.
It's C or D. Because the Colts have one too. Mercedes-Benz, I believe, is one. I'm going to go with 5. I think it's only 4, though.
How about 1? New Orleans plays at the only stadium with dome in its name. That would be the Caesar Superdome. You're thinking
I thought domes in general. I didn't know in the name. All right, that's fine. Whatever.
All right, so let's just have a little fun here. The Caesar Superdome will host the Super Bowl in a couple weeks, not including this year. Raise your hand when you know the answer. How many Super Bowls have been hosted at a site, again, with dome in its name? I think I saw Brad.
Yeah, he was first.
Say 5.
5? What's your guess?
I'm going to say 2.
Wow. 11.
The Superdomes have a lot.
So the Superdome's hosted 7 times, not this time.
Couple power outages, you know.
Yep. Just be careful with who you get for a halftime act. Georgia Dome hosted twice, and the Silverdome and Metrodome each hosted very cool Super Bowls, each one time.
Where's the Silver? What was the last?
Silverdome's in Detroit. We went over that.
Oh, all right.
Because you got that question right.
Yeah.
All right, so that'll do it for this episode of the show. But kind of to give you a teaser for next week, we're inside of a big athletic complex here. And I thought to myself, I can't just give you a quiz. So coming up next week on our show, we're going to have the first ever On the Sidelines 3-point shootout. We're going to take the show over there. And we're going to see who can hit the most shots and make ourselves look like idiots.
Thank you.
All right, that'll do it for the show. I want to thank everybody that helped out here. I want to thank Nikki, Greg, and Greg here at the Bridgewater Sports Complex for opening up the facility and being great hosts with us here. And congratulations to them for 30 years here at the Bridgewater Dome. Here's to another 30 more inside of a beautiful facility. Again, want to invite you all to come on down and visit. So for Jonathan, Brad, I'm John. We'll talk to you next week.